Today is August 31st, the last day of the month, 2021. He is Zach. I am Mr. 411. Welcome to the Sports Brothers Show. What's going on, Zach?
How is it going, Mr. 411? Things are going well.
Man, it's going as great as it can, man. As I always say, if you can see another day, you're having a great day.
I would agree. Things are pretty good, and I feel like the day didn't start off as great as I wanted to, but things have picked up, and I believe everything is going to finish pretty strong today.
All right. Finish strong. And that's what they used to tell you in football practice, I bet.
A few times.
Yep. In your glory days, it's the great cornerback, as I always like to say, the great corner, Zach.
uh,
But yeah,
it wasn't bad. I had my moments.
okay. That's what's up, man. All right. And guess what? Zingo TV, which is what we're on nowadays, as well as YouTube and Facebook and other avenues. But look at Zingo, on Blackjack TV channel, YouTube channel. They're saying, "What's up, fellas?"
Hello, Zingo. Thank you, Zingo. We appreciate it.
That's right. We have to thank Zingo TV for bringing us on board, and we appreciate that a ton. And speaking of Zingo, we're gonna go ahead and kick off with our cheap plug of
Oh,
the night,
my bad.
Zingo
I thought
TV.
that I thought
We
that
can be
was our cheap
viewed.
plug.
Yep, we can continue with it. We've been since we like to thank ZingoTV.com and also the app. You can always download the app Zingo TV, and you can find the Sports Brothers there on Tuesday and Thursday nights, 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And once again, we thank Zingo Television.
Yes, we do. Thank you very much, Zingo.
Yes, sir. And Zach, I can tell by the shirt that you have on, the college football season has already begun because it did start last weekend. But for you in particular, it really is going to kick off this weekend. And I know
Oh,
we're going to talk.
absolutely.
And I know we're going to talk about a lot of college football later on in the show. But before we get to that, let's talk about some things that we may have missed over the past
Oh,
week.
and before we go too far where we missed, we letting our fans down because Raising Canaan was back
Oh
this week
yeah,
after a
yeah, yeah.
break. Uh,
Yes, sir.
did you watch it?
I did watch Raising Canaan, so I'm
Okay,
caught up on every episode.
that is good. Now I'm gonna say I felt better about this episode. They brought me back in, and it's not so bad. I feel like we're back on track. Some of the soap opera ness got out in this episode. They have one thing that I don't like with our boy from Juice. I'm like, that seems very convenient or whatever. But outside of that, solid episode. And the older brother that would be considered to screw up, I just really like him, man. I'm empathizing with him. It seems like he just wants to do right, but things just keep kind of going wrong, and I am pulling for him. I'm sure it's not look since he's not in the future anywhere or we didn't see him. I'm sure things don't end well for him, but still, like that's the bad part about all of this. Since we know this is past history, we already know what's going on. And I will give the show credit with this. I like how they are giving me a different dynamic with Kanan because the Kanan that we're seeing now, I wouldn't think would kill Jukebox. But as we know, anyone that has watched the actual Power, it knows that Kanan ends up killing Jukebox. So this is a much different Kanan than what we're used to. So not bad in that aspect.
Definitely, it's a much younger Kanan too. So I like the way they're telling the story of
Yeah.
how these characters came about. I know why her name is Jukebox now.
Yes. Me
So
too.
that makes total sense now. So if you don't know, go check out the episodes, and you'll find out.
I would agree. And now I'll put on the other show I checked out and caught all 3 episodes, Heels. And while I am not a wrestling fan, I
anymore.
do like the behind the scenes stuff that Heels does to let you know kind of how they get everything going. And even though it's scripted, it's scripted, but it's more like if you want to go, if you were to somehow script a football game, like the stuff they doing is real. Like it ain't fake. It just so happens that they are deciding how it's going to play out. And I may have that wrong. You can give or probably articulate that better than I can since you're the wrestling dude. But I love it that he's sitting there and after the wrestling match, he's like, "How do we do the show?" And he spent the whole day trying to determine, "Hey, who should win the match? Who should win the match? Who should win the match?" And just those things. So I appreciate it.
Well, good. I think Hills is doing his job. It's giving you more of an inside look into professional wrestling. It's really giving it to you at the level of the what we call indie wrestling, which is independent
Okay.
wrestling, more of the minor leagues, where a lot of people start off and then they try to, as you probably heard about guys going up north, if you will.
Yeah.
That means that they're getting the big payday with the WWE, Vince McMahon, or so on and so forth. When they say up north, that's they're talking about WWE.
Okay.
And as you know, growing up, the NWA, WCW, that's southern based. That's Atlanta, which was huge as well. But when they say up north, that's what they're referring to. Yeah, I mean the fact that they're it is scripted, which we all know that. I mean, they let that cow out the
Well, don't
bag
say all.
long,
I'm sure some people
long time
don't know.
ago.
I'm sure some people don't know that wrestling script.
Well, but wrestlers let that out of the bag, decades ago, for a reason. They just went on and just let it out. But what happens is real. Injuries are real. They go through. If you played football or are familiar with football players that get injured a lot, even football players will tell you that doing wrestling, performing in wrestling, you get as many or more injuries. Hulk Hogan lost count on how many injuries he has now. For all those times he done that famous leg drop,
Yeah.
every time he did that leg drop, it led to something bad happening with his back. And he's told stories about how it's taken him forever to get out of bed and so on and so forth. But Triple H, knee surgeries, ACLs, all those guys, they tear themselves to pieces, but they do it because they love it. And that's just like any other aspect of life, especially in professional sports, if you will. They gonna do it because they love it. Football players that play football and they play with broken fingers or fingers taken off and all that kind of stuff, and they do it because they love it. And it's just
Yes.
part of it.
Most
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah, yeah. But heels, right? You asked me last week about heels and what is a heel. And again, a heel is the villain, it's the bad guy or girl. The face is the good guy or the good girl. And when you become a heel, you do things in the ring that lets people know that you're a heel.
Heel.
Cheat.
Yes. I
You know,
saw that.
right? So you saw that. You see where it's going with that. Very
As
good, Zach.
somebody said, that's a heel move.
Exactly. Right. So when people tune in to watch it, then they'll catch
Yeah.
on just like you are.
I would say if you don't know anything about wrestling, you can watch heels and it will be entertaining for you, I think. The
Yeah,
acting isn't
absolutely.
that bad either. It's something to watch as of right now until football gets started.
Yeah. And it'll still be going on. But yeah, it's entertaining and I enjoy it myself, Zach. And they really are pretty spot on with what's going on and what happens behind the scenes. Very good. Very good stuff.
Well, that's cool.
All right. Well, if you missed that, tune in to watch Heels, tune in to watch Raising Canaan, and let us know your thoughts on those shows during the coming weeks and coming episodes.
Yes.
Let's jump into what we may have missed, Zach.
Yes. The real what we may have missed now that people probably want to know about from the sports world.
All right. Well, let's talk about what's happening over in the Four Letter Network, and it's Stephen A. Smith reportedly demanding Max Kellerman to be taken off of the First Take show, which is how it was a very popular debate show on ESPN. And me and you agreed that he was doing a fantastic job. But what's your take on this, man?
Well, if I'm going to go with the probably the quick view, I think Max was too smart for Stephen A. Smith,
Hmm.
i.e., he didn't want to go with that. Or I guess if you want to go with maybe the long view, Stephen A. Smith, he's the man at ESPN. He just wants to have creative control of everything. And he feels like he's bigger than a co-host or what have you. So he can just kind of, he wants to do his own thing. And maybe Max Kellerman isn't big enough to be opposite of him anymore. And go with that. Maybe we can have a bigger debate about it somewhere later on, but I won't take up too much time talking about this. Uh,
Yeah.
Max gets another show. Well, he's going to be on another show in the morning, and then he has his radio show. So good for Max. I do think this is might be First Take going downhill now after years of it not being, or I'm sorry, being the kind of premier sports talk show on television.
Yeah. I feel like Stephen A. Basically feels like Max is not the on his level, if you will. I don't think Stephen A. would have done this if Skip Bayless was opposite of him. I wouldn't see that happening.
I'm pretty sure he would
I
have been able to skip as a big brand itself.
Exactly. So I think that Stephen A. probably wants the show to go a different direction, more Stephen A. centric. Because I think Max was uh, really making a big name for himself on this show as well.
Yeah,
I mean, with a lot of his takes, and a lot of his takes made sense. Now there was a lot of things that didn't make sense to me either, but I could say the same thing for Stephen A. Smith too. And because we won't talk about the comment about Mitchell being the greatest Utah Jazz player of all time.
that never got relooked at after the Utah Jazz quietly went out of the playoffs. But
Exactly.
but as I said, when you the man,
Yeah,
you just what is that? Kendrick Perkins says, carry on.
that's it. But no, I
You
mean Stephen A.
carry on.
Like, and as we said in the production meeting before that, Stephen A. is getting paid the big bucks, the mega bucks.
Oh, I think
So
12 million a year. So he's
yeah,
making great money. He's a shot
yeah.
caller.
So
Like
so
in the sports talk world, he's a shot caller.
so when they decide to pay him that kind of money, this is where you're saying that he stands in the pecking order, and he's calling his shot, and it is what it is. So, but it was just interesting to see that. Not that Max was taken off the show and maybe move into something else, because I think he's really great when it comes to boxing. I still watch his Max at Max after Max on boxing. It's a great show, and he does a lot of other things well. But maybe I just feel like Stephen A. wants to move a different direction on this one. I was just kind of surprised it was because of Stephen A. Why this move was made though.
Well, this stuff happens. Hey, groups break up. Destiny Child, like these things. Just look, Mike Greenberg and Mike Golick, they were together for I believe 18 years. It could
Almost 20 years, yeah.
and they Greenberg wanted to go in a different direction, and this stuff happens.
Yeah, but the thing here is they weren't together that long, but
No, no,
yeah,
no.
it is what it is. Yeah, yes, sir. All right, what else have we might have missed this week?
Well, I just missed what you're about to show.
Oh, well, here it comes. Shakari Richardson. I'm, I know you know that name by now. Appears that she took a
For
shot
all
at
reasons.
Allison Felix. It seemed like she took a shot at Allison Felix in the social media world. Man, what's up with this?
Well, I don't even know what she did, so you'd have to tell me.
Well, there was well, obviously you know the backdrop on Miss Felix, but there seems to be, I'm not Felix, Shakari
Shakari.
Richardson. Yeah, but it seemed like Felix was coming to the aid of Shakari, and supposedly Shakari didn't take too well of it, but also there was some comments made that someone posted something on social media about the Jamaican team, a lot of the Jamaican track runners, and it was some things in there that was not nice. There was like coconuts referenced in there, things like that. So, but out there on the social media, Shakari actually did a like on it. So, that didn't go well. but also she has some things to say about Felix that wasn't nice as well. We'll post that up in a few. But just in general, what do you think about Shakari and how she's been behaving?
She is going down a path where she's going to be more popular for her stuff off the track than she is on the track. So she needs to be very careful and decide kind of what she wants to be. I mean, who was it in tennis? It was it Anna Kournikova. I think I don't think she ever won a grand. I mean, a major or anything like
Oh
that. Whatever.
yeah,
It's a
yeah,
grand
yeah,
slam, but she had all of these commercials and she made all this money. In fact, I think at one time she was making more than Serena, but she didn't win anything. And all of that is good. If money is what you're looking for, which a lot of people are, that's great. And we're gonna have some talks about this stuff later. But if you want to be known for being the best at what you do, then you might want to take the actual sports side or the professional side more seriously. And that's what, because like she's got to wait, what, 3 years for the next Olympics before she can even try to do anything. And at this point, do you think that she is good enough to win a medal at all? Because I don't see it. And hell, the way she's going or the route she's going, she's gonna be one of those things like where is Shakari Richardson that we'll be talking about in a few years. Kind of like what's my guy from Ohio State, the running back, led them to the national championship, Maurice Claret. Like it's just going to be one of those
yeah,
kind of sad things that we're kind of sort of about to get to talk about in a little bit.
yeah. But yeah, it's just sad that she would say some things along the lines of like, the help or offering the help is like nothing at all, things like that. It's like, you just she keeps digging a deeper and deeper hole for herself. And, all this really started because of something that she did to herself,
Yes,
which was not qualifying for the Olympics due to, marijuana use. And, that was self-inflicted. You know what I mean? So that's on her. And it's all these comments, all these things she's doing on social media. She needs to just lay low and she needs to reset everything and focus on her, as you stated earlier, on the field. Let's get the on the field thing straight before we start doing all this off the field stuff because she's doing nothing but making things worse for herself. And then, as we remember, as we talked about it before, I mean, she was just in a race recently and finished last. Not
yes.
next to last. She finished dead last. So you're really just making it rough for yourself right now.
Well, she
So
needs to,
you know,
like I said, she needs to do something that we can talk about that's on the track. And she ain't giving us
yeah,
nothing right
I
now. Like
agree.
at least give us a little something and then have all this extra stuff. But as I said, the person we're about to talk about in a second will kind of sort of be in the same boat.
All right. You want to tell Lacey Dawson hello? She's out here
I,
commenting.
I was waiting on, hey, Lacey, how's it going? Thank you for staying up late. We're going to do our best.
Gonna do our best. She said we keeping her entertained. So
Well, I don't know
I
if
mean,
we've
she
done
left
much
on her.
yet,
Well, I'm just wondering what she
but thank you.
really. I wonder what she, does during her spare time then for us to entertain her. But anyway, we'll keep it moving.
You are kind of
Let's talk
entertaining.
about. Well, thank you, Zach. But let's jump on our next topic, as you said, since we're talking about somebody, and man, Cam Newton, man, this came out today in the sports
It
world, in the
did.
sports news, but Cam Newton, who is now the former quarterback for the New England Patriots, he has been released. Today is the day that teams have to cut their roster to 53, and New England decided to not include Cam Newton in that total of 53 players for Week 1. What are your thoughts on Cam being released?
Well, first, I would just say this is like a life lesson that people need to understand that things change quickly in life. And you need to try to be nice, really, to everybody, courteous to everybody, respectful to everybody, because One moment you at the top, and the next moment you at the bottom or whatever. And not that Cam's at the bottom. He's made plenty of money. So
Oh
from
yeah.
that standpoint, his career, I his career was fine. His family should be fine. But I would just say, in 2015, he was voted MVP of the league. Now, full disclosure, I was never all in on Cam being MVP and Cam being the best player in the league or whatever, because I felt like the team that he had ran the ball, defense played well, got turnovers, gave you short fields, and all of that stuff led into why he was successful. But quarterbacks are always going to get all the glory. Team wins, it's because of quarterback. Team loses, it's because of everybody else not the quarterback. And that's just how it is. So that would kind of be where I would first go with it. The next thing I'm gonna do, say, and then I'm gonna turn it over to you, is the NFL vaccine rules are gonna play a big part or have a big effect on the season, because I'd say this right here has already shown how that is played out. That Cam not being vaccinated and missing that time because of the confusion, I guess, of the COVID rules when he went to a medical appointment that was approved away from the team, gave Mac Jones a 5 days, I think it was, to go ahead and get first team reps and for everybody in the building to really see how this guy was. And this is just how it works, Tyrone, in life. The prettier you are, the more leeway you get. The uglier you are, the less leeway you get. Cam ain't as pretty as he was before. And because he ain't pretty like he used to be back in the day, he needs to keep his shot group a lot tighter. And all you military people know what that means. And right now, his shot group ain't been tight. And it seems like the Patriots just decided we don't want to deal with this. What say you?
Well, I mean, I kind of understand what the Patriots are doing. And if you think about the Patriots, they have a history. No one should really be shocked that Cam Newton, even a player at this caliber, because he's still not a bad quarterback. I mean, he's definitely a starting quarterback in the NFL, and I would dare to say, at the very least, he's middle of the pack and up. But the Patriots do this type of thing. Like they move forward. They're basically the jersey. That's one organization that is about the helmet and the jersey. It's not really about the individuals when you talk about New England. So I do think that the COVID protocol had a lot to do with this. It had something that, yeah, it had a lot to do with it because, again, there's different levels depending on if you're vaccinated and if you're not vaccinated. And if you're unvaccinated, there's a lot of things in there that may not even affect you as far as actually being sick, but if there's players or people around you or people part of the organization that are sick and you've been exposed to them, you immediately missing time. If you are vaccinated and you take the test, then you're not going to miss time. So there's a lot of differences here. And so at the quarterback position, that's the one position where you really need to be available for your team because that's going to change the dynamic of your week to week planning. And so Cam allowed that door to be open. And this is well within his right. It was not saying that it's not within his right. I'm sure Belichick knows that too. But at the same time, you got to know Belichick and you got to know that, he'll move on with somebody else. They have 8 returning starters on defense, so they're going to rely on their defense more. And Mac Jones was a highly touted player. They drafted him as soon as when he was available. They took him. When a lot of people thought that Mac Jones from Alabama would have went in the top 3. One time, so 49ers were supposed to be the team to take him. So they have a quality young quarterback. They really don't need to rely on him for wins and losses. So I can see this happening. But check this out, Zach. As a result of all this, the NFC East, the oldest quarterback in the NFC East right now, starting quarterback this season, is Josh Allen from the Buffalo Bills at age 23. You have Tua, In Miami, he's 22. You have Mac Jones is 22, and Zach Wilson, your favorite quarterback for the New York Jets, 22 years old. So this division is going to be full of young quarterbacks, upcoming stars, if you will. And week 4, the Bucks and the Patriots. You have Tom Brady and Mac Jones. So that's going to be interesting there.
It
So
won't be. And
that's it's an interesting story.
no, it ain't.
I'll tell you
It'll
why.
be, but it ain't.
Let me tell you why it's interesting to me because when Tom Brady was a Patriot, he was like 199th pick somewhere in there, and he was basically irrelevant. And he wasn't built like maybe you or The Rock or some people like that. Um, and wasn't fast, didn't have a strong arm, wasn't really thought about, but he had an opportunity to play due to an injury. And Mac Jones, if you compare him to Cam Newton, and you put them in a bodybuilding contest, Cam would win, without even having judges in the contest. So you got a little bit of a symmetry there, but also you'll get to see Brady get a chance to really take it to his old team, and I think a lot of people are going to be looking forward to seeing that matchup. Not necessarily the actual results, but just the fact that Brady's come playing his old team again. But
Well,
what do
I'm
you
sure.
think about? Oh, go ahead. I ask you something next. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead. I can hit
Well, I was
both.
going to say, okay, good, because I was going to say, what do you think is next for Cam Newton?
Well, I think what is next for Cam Newton first is Cam is going to be unemployed for a while. I'm not sure. Like, I'm shocked. And I've heard some analysts say that you shouldn't be shocked. You should have saw the writing on the wall. I watched Mac Jones at Alabama. I don't think much of his talent in that sense. So I may need to go back and look at the tape again because if Coach Belichick is going with Mac Jones, he must see something physically, and more importantly, he must see something mentally that Cam doesn't have. But I also think we're gonna go with those words that y'all like to use, intangibles, that they're looking at some of the leadership stuff and the fact that Cam not being vaccinated, almost at any point he could uh, have to miss time. And you were talking
Yeah.
about the protocols. I believe right now, if you're a non-vaccinated player in the NFL, you get tested every day. And if you're a vaccinated player, it's once a week. And that's because and I can't tell you all of the medical stuff about this Delta variant, but I guess it is strong and it can be contagious or whatever. And they're trying to look out for that. And Cam might be done, man. Like, why would you bring Cam Newton in to your organization? Especially like because at this point, if you bring him in, he's got to learn a new offense. Uh, I'm just not unless you're um like say Tom Brady gets hurt in Tampa Bay. Do they want to bring him in? If Aaron Rodgers get hurt in Green Bay, do they want to bring what kind of championship level team or playoff level team is going to bring him in? Maybe the Houston Texans might bring him in next year as they're going through whatever. But it's just a good chance Cam is washed, man. And this might hurt you a little bit, but this is kind of like the Mike Vick thing. It was so much promise when Cam was drafted, and it's just unfulfilled promise. Yeah, he won MVP, and yes, he led the team to the Super Bowl, but so much more was expected of Cam. Because in your mind, is Cam a Hall of Famer right now?
No. If I got to think about it, then it's no.
No, and same here. He's not a Hall of Famer, but when he came in, I'd have to believe that the expectations would be that he'd be a Super Bowl winner and that he would be a Hall of Famer. And now here we go once again with the running quarterback thing. Like everybody wants the quarterback that's mobile and can run. And you got to tell me who I guess Russell Wilson counts as that or whatever. But Cam always felt more like the non-conventional quarterback. And this was more of a guy that was going to change the way that football was played. And so far, all of these guys that were supposed to change the way football is played, they ain't changed the way football is played because guy like Tom Brady that plays in the pocket is still winning the Super Bowl. So disappointed. And I think I just mentioned Tom Brady. I also kind of say this. This is why Tom Brady is the standard for the modern NFL quarterback. He takes less money to make sure he has better resources around him. And then he puts in the work and the effort. You were just talking about his body work. He works on his craft. Like how we were talking about Shakari, and I said I would get to it. It seems like with Cam, the other stuff meant more than the on field stuff. And the other stuff can never mean more than where you make your bread at. Like we get caught up all into this, and this is the fan thing of, oh, well, these guys should just love playing the game and this. It is a business. They get paid to play football. Your body is your business. Your mind is your business. What you do off the field is your business. And like Tom Brady, he's maximized his years. Like when you can have the Kobe Bryant or those guys, like those 20-year careers, kind of like LeBron is doing, that's helping you get every dollar that you can possibly get. When you go make workouts, when you do all those things, that is for you and for your legacy. And with Cam, as I said, like with Shakari, the off-field stuff just became too much. And once you're not as good anymore, people ain't gonna keep you around for that. And you can go check T.O. out for that, or Chad Ochocinco. So I'm disappointed. I thought Cam would play pretty well for the Patriots. I don't think this is like just about the football talent, as you were saying. I think this has more to do with that outside of football stuff. And you just get tired of it, people. Like it's kind of like being in a relationship. If you always going through something or something is always happening with the person you with, like they can just be as great as they want to be. But at some point, you're just like, damn, why can't we just have normal stuff going on and we just chill or whatever? But it's always, I'll pick you up from the police station. You get in a fight with somebody down. Like it's always something instead of just the relationship part. And I'm not speaking from experience or anything.
Well, good. I'm glad you're not. But yeah, with Cam, I mean, I'm just going to put a bow around it. Cam is, I think he's also in that spot now where it's like he's too good to be the backup, and then he's in certain situations not the appropriate starter. And again, New England, this is one of the places again where, I mean, you mentioned Chad Ochocinco, you mentioned, he's a guy that went to New England. Guess what? Boom, you out of there. It's just those type of things happen when you're in New England. I mean, look at Randy Moss. He played there briefly, out of there, bounced around for a while later on in his career too. Talent, but then you have other factors. Now, again, as a quarterback, when you really can't be counted on, and then you factor that it's New England, you're going to be out of there. I mean, that's just the Belichick way. Maybe in another organization, he would have been able to hang on a little longer, despite that. I'm not sure. We can talk about another day about what's going on in Minnesota with their starting quarterback, and he's not vaccinated. But we can get in that another time. But you mentioned Houston, and it's funny that you mentioned Houston, the Houston Texans, because there are plenty of rumors out there about Deshaun Watson being moved. Deshaun Watson may not even play, all this kind of stuff. And if something happens to Tyrod Taylor in Houston, and he's a mobile style quarterback, there's nothing for Houston really. They're not going anywhere this season. Maybe that's a place Cam can go. But again, he's in that funny spot for me where can Cam be your backup quarterback? And that's really the issue.
Does he have anything left? Because can he play? Like he looked good before COVID last year, but for Belichick to get rid of him for Mac Jones, for me, that's like a huge red flag. And we do have a comment.
Yeah, let's look at it. And while we're looking at that, but again, I'm saying a backup in certain situations. I mean, and there's no need for him to be a backup in New England.
I'm saying, and I'm kind of saying, like, why would you want him as a backup? Like, what does he bring? Because that'd be like bringing you as a backup. If you physically can't do it, then you can't do it. How do we know Cam can still physically do it? And
I'm sure he's better than most backups in the NFL. But again, will he be a backup?
Are we? Like, like
Well,
I
I
hear
mean, we can.
that's a
Who,
good opinion. You
who's the,
giving him the benefit of the doubt, but is he?
well, who's the backup in Atlanta?
I'm just asking, is he?
Well, I'm saying he could be good enough to be. He's better than the second tier quarterbacks in the NFL.
I mean, that's like Warren Moon. If Warren Moon came back now, I don't think Warren Moon is good enough to be a backup. Cam may be done. Like that's just I
Warren
know
Moon, Warren
it's all
Moon has been retired over, you know, over decades. Eh?
yeah, but at some point, like you get done. Like at one point, you're one of the best, and we'll go say 64 quarterbacks in the world, and then one day you're number 65, and you ain't good enough to be a backup anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I get that, but I don't think he's 65. I think he's more uh late 20s, mid, like 20s, 26, and you can go maybe 30, 36, somewhere in there.
Well,
But what I'm saying, in the right situation, and he would have to also be accept being that. Like, could you be the backup for Russell Wilson in Seattle and just be there in case of emergency break glass, and you fill in? But again, will that be a good fit? Either way, would that be good for Seattle? I don't, what I'm saying. So I don't think it would be. Right now he's in that spot, like you're saying.
well,
He's
right
falling
now,
off, but not great enough, but not bad enough either. It's just where's the team going to utilize him?
look, I'm gonna go with facts. Right now, he ain't the 65th or 64th best quarterback in the NFL because he ain't in the NFL. So until he gets back on the NFL roster, they telling you he ain't good enough to be one of your 64, starter or backup.
But what is your take? I mean, what do you think about it? Do you think there's 65 better quarterbacks in the NFL today?
I think Coach Belichick let him go, and
I
if
know I'm
Coach,
saying, but do you think there's 65 better quarterbacks in the NFL? I don't. I don't think so. I just think I don't think he's as great as he used to be, and I just think it's no. There's not a fit right now for him. But that's just how I feel
it,
about it.
now, are you asking me can he play in the NFL right now? I thought he would be productive for New England this year,
Yeah, me
and
too.
Coach Belichick did not. So I would tell you that I think he could be productive, but I don't own a team. So
Yeah.
it don't really matter what I think right now. It matters what them people out there that own them teams thinking right now. They don't think he should be part of the program. Now we'll see. He's got a
Yeah.
week and change, right? Somebody can pick him up.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, he just have to be prepared and be ready for that because it's going to happen. Somebody's going to try to pick him up at some point, and I
We will
hope
see.
it's yeah. And speaking of pickups, we picked up a sponsor.
Yay.
All right, sponsor alert! Sponsor alert! And guess who the sponsor is, Zach?
I believe
It,
we know this sponsor.
all right, Heavenly Spa Mobile, 2484 Ingleside Avenue, Building A, as in Apple. Suite 101-A, as in amazing. And that's Macon, Georgia, 31204. You can contact Miss Heavenly Spa, Latanya Rainey, at 478
What up, Latanya?
747 478 747 9231. Heavenly Spa Mobile. She does have the magic hands.
Yes, she
Check her
does.
out.
She gives great massages. If you in Macon, go see her.
Totally agree, Zach.
Well, thank you. I would hope so.
All right. Something else we need to see. The NCAA. Let's talk about the NCAA, man. I know you really want to bring this one up in the production meeting. The state of NCAA, which is collegiate sports, ladies and gentlemen. Um, Zach, what's your take on the state of the NCAA as far as it pertains to sports and its future?
Well, I'll give you a couple things and then let you take over. First thing I'm gonna say is the NCAA's past has now shaped its future. And when I say that, what I'm talking about is they tried to keep every freaking nickel that they could, from all the TV contracts, from all the games at the stadiums with the pricing and parking and drinks and all of this stuff. And they didn't want to give the damn athletes nothing. And what happened is society changed. And everybody out there, if you old, you need to open your eyes because things are changing in this world, like the Me Too movement, like minorities being allowed to get more uh, equal opportunities out there. And anything, I guess we say being a bully is it don't fly no more. If you're looked at as a bully, people are gonna come in and they're gonna look at you and kind of ask you honest questions of why you're doing what you're doing. And the NCAA was able to get away with that for the longest amount of time, saying these are amateur sports and these are amateur athletes. Schooling is enough. I'm sorry, scholarships are enough for them. They get room and board, blah, 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 blah. Yet they cashing in now TV contracts of hundreds of millions of dollars and with the bowl games and all this other stuff. Now, of course, there are athletes, kind of SMU, as they got the death penalty, were getting money. At other places, athletes were getting money. You know, we look at some of the basketball scandals, they were getting money. But ultimately, these individuals weren't fairly being compensated over the table. So I'm glad this is now taking place to kind of even those things up. And next, what I would say is football, basketball, and all those revenue generating sports, they're not going to be a part of the NCAA anymore. And when I say they're not going to be part of the NCAA will have no governing body over them. Now, if you want to go lacrosse, I don't know if they have crew in college. Maybe if you want to go track, things of that nature, they'll be able to make rules for those sports and dictate how they do. But the SEC is already letting you know, we getting ready to break away from this model, and y'all ain't gonna suspend us or take games away from us, suspend our players or do whatever if we do this. And I will say too, high school basketball players are about to get paid, and they're gonna get paid more than some professional athletes. Because my guess is when they get to do those name, image, and likeness deals, somebody like Nike is gonna come out and say, "Hey, you go ahead, go to Duke. We're gonna sign you to a 4 or 5 year, $80 million contract or whatever." Or even Nike may be able to get over. Maybe they won't do the 80 million, but they might give a kid 20 million for 3 or 4 years in hopes that he makes to the NBA and they already got him under contract. So yeah, the NCAA is, we used to like to say in the Army when people did something wrong, they stepped on their crank, and this is where we at. It's a whole new world. Or if you want to go, we'll do one of your wrestling things. This is a new world order.
New world order. All right. Well, yeah, man. I think that the NCAA, if you look at LaMelo Ball, for example, think about how his dad was, adamant that, his first two sons, Lonzo and Leangelo, they both went to UCLA, and initially all three were supposed to go to UCLA. It was supposed to be a package deal, and but as you can see that with LaMelo, I mean, he already had a shoe made and all kind of stuff, and his father decided to let him go play overseas and play in other leagues and things like that, and just say, hey, okay, we'll just bypass college and just because that's money that my son could be making, and the league NCAA is not going to allow this kind of thing. So, with the image and likeness and all that stuff that's now being allowed in the NCAA, it's just opening the doors for the students to get their piece of the pie, if you will. So that's what you're going to see. You're going to see a lot more of this. You're going to see a lot people like what is it, Master P's son, how he
Yes.
struck a huge deal at Tennessee State University, and there's more players like this that's going to be able to take advantage of their situation, and that's a good thing. Um, it's basically opened up the door, just like we talked about earlier about professional wrestling. When professional wrestling just opened up the door and said, "This is what we do. We entertain." That kind of just said, okay, so everybody adapts to that and understands that and moves forward from it. Um, Let the cat out the bag, if you will. Remember the Michigan Fab Five, how they wore the black shoes, the long pants, and you
Yeah.
know, brought Michigan from to the top or near the top. But all that money that was being generated, they wouldn't get a dime for it. They were trying to figure out what they're gonna eat, and all that kind of stuff. So all these stories, will lessen. It won't be as nearly as bad anymore. Also, the transfer portal. I wanted to bring that up, Zach, because the transfer portal, to me, allowing more movement within the NCAA, kind of reminds me of the professional leagues when they become free agents and they go to other teams and things like that. So I would tell people to keep an eye on that transfer portal and think about the movement there and go back years where basically a player went to a school and that was it. Like they were there. If they left, they had to sit out and then all this kind of stuff. And like this portal has opened up a lot of doors too. So it's just more freedom across the board, and I like that. So that's how I feel about the state of the NCAA right now, man.
Well, here's the problem with what you just said. It's actually those restrictions were only on sports like football, basketball, and baseball, and maybe hockey. If I was a
Mm-hmm.
tennis player and I was a tennis player at Georgia and I decided, oh, I want to go be a tennis player at Florida, Georgia's arch
Right.
rival, I could just go and roll at Florida and I can start playing tennis there. And you can go with all those sports. So this was the problem. That's why I said the NCAA stepped on their crank because they just and probably no one could predict. I guess back in the '80s that times would change like this. You didn't expect it, but we're just becoming more intelligent as a society, and we're all these archaic things. We're understanding that nope, it don't make no damn sense. So good for all of these kids. Um, I'm happy this is happening to the NCAA, and I was part of NCAA, and it's only because it was no reason for this. The individuals that would have been compensated way back in the day was going to be a small percentage of all of the scholarship athletes that you had. And if you'd have just gave a little, you wouldn't be at this point. And now because you wouldn't give a little, you done lost everything. Like they're going to be out in football and basketball. They just are. Like give it give it a year or two if it's going to take that long, and you will see that the NCAA will be making an announcement that they will only be focusing on, say, these other sports. They won't have anything, as I said, to do with the real money makers. And what you might see is maybe there won't be an NCAA anymore because maybe NCAA won't have anything to do with Division One. They'll just have to focus on the one double A and all of the smaller divisions.
Maybe. Maybe. All right. Well, speaking of other divisions in the NCAA world, how about the historically black colleges, universities, HBCUs? And we
Yes.
decided to come up with this question for the day, uh, in topic of the HBCU. Are HBCU sports promoted enough by its institutions?
Well, I'm gonna go from the outside looking in, and the first thing I'll say is I'll speak for both of us because HBCUs have influenced our lives greatly because our parents and numerous family members attended HBCUs. I believe your family, mother, father, and I'm not sure about your other family members, but they
Yeah,
attended South Carolina State, correct?
that's correct.
But my mother and plenty of my aunts, uh, uncles, and then I have plenty of cousins. They attended the University of Arkansas Pine Bluff. Uh, this is where I say society's changed and people don't think much of that. Like today, that doesn't mean much, but for like my mother, she went to the separate but equal schools. So HBCUs was probably the best avenue for her to get an education. And part of the reason I went to college, honestly, is because my aunt and uncle and I'm sorry, my aunt's uncle, mother, they went to college and they pushed that on me that education was a big way to go.
All right,
I'm
same
not sure
here.
if you're Okay, so there you go. So that really influenced me being able to go the college route. So I want to see HBCUs do well. With that said, I don't think they're doing enough to promote the institutions. I I kind of look back at Georgia when Georgia had Mark Rick, and then they went to Kirby Smart. Now I'm not big on Kirby Smart. We can talk about him a little later in the show in another segment. But the one thing that he did do for Georgia that is outside of the coaching, he pushed the University of Georgia to improve their facilities so they could compete at a higher level and draw the type of interest that they wanted from those type of athletes, so they could set themselves up to be more marketable, be it in the television realm or competing as far as with national championships, things of that nature, so you can get more money. And that party's done well. I can't tell you how much more money he's generated for Georgia, but Georgia feels like a national brand now where, uh, and I can say it's before Kirby and Mark Rick era, it felt maybe more like a regional brand. So same thing for HBCUs. They have to figure out a way to become a more national brand. And maybe they need to go away from some of their tradition and try and become and I can't give you the numbers, but maybe more diverse. And then also go look out trying to get people to invest in the universities to upgrade different facilities. Because it's embarrassing when you get those segments where they'll talk about how the weight room looks. I think was that at Grambling. I can't remember who it
That,
was, but
that was at Grambling. Mm-hmm.
and that is just not a good look, because if you're someone that's a difficult sell, because and forget that now. And you talked about this earlier, and you made a great point. And I hope I'm not stealing too much of your thunder. I'll take it away. But when you see like these institutions playing against a Georgia or someone, that you shouldn't just be thinking, oh, these are just poor, downtrodden schools or whatever. These schools have a lot of history, and you
Mm-hmm.
should view them, as you said earlier. Look, I want to make sure I give you credit. Like, you should view it as a Harvard when it comes to, like, yeah, okay, the Harvard football program isn't going to be as good as Georgia's, or their basketball program isn't going to be as good as Duke's. But from an institutional standpoint, you can get a great education there and have a great college experience. That's what should be promoted with the HBCUs, and less of maybe the fraternity, sorority type stuff promoted, but more of the college life. And we can help you get set up for your future and your career, because the fraternity and sorority stuff is great. And I know that stuff, those connections can help you get into different avenues in life and career and things of that nature. But if I'm a student and I don't know anything about that type of life, and we'll go like I'm a young man out in Iowa, I don't know about that. Teach me about the institute, promote your institution to me, so I can get excited about that and understand how it will help me, instead of me just thinking, oh, this is just a party school or whatever. And I know that may be oversimplifying it, but people that maybe didn't grow up in it or don't have parents or family members like we have that can kind of teach you that history don't understand that it's more than just that stuff right there.
Yeah, I mean you're heading in the right direction with this. As we stated, I think that it shouldn't be looked at as like, okay, you're playing a nobody school, because they're not nobody schools. There's a lot of rich history in historically black colleges and universities. For example, if you look at the most players from HBCUs that made it to the programs that brought the most NFL players, right? Florida A&M, FAMU, as a lot of people know it by, 74 players, NFL. Southern University, 80. Jackson State, 93 NFL players. Grambling State, 117. Tennessee State,
Yeah.
121. I mean, that's impressive numbers. And of course, we know a lot of that had to do with the climate, but at the same time, that shows you that it can happen. And if you could continue to recruit those type of players, that level of player, regardless of how things have become over the years, like we're talking 30 plus years now, 40 years of, 50, you know 50 plus years actually, when you start integrating the players and things. But you can get the talent. The talent will come there. It's kind of like what you said. There's a needs to be more of a let's get back to, and we're talking about this in the sports context of upgrading the facilities and so on and so forth. And I think to answer the question that we written that we listed here, enough hasn't been done yet. But I think things are starting to turn, especially with a lot of things that happened over the last 2 years in society, where now you're getting the Deion Sanders, who then influenced a Eddie George to come along, and then you already have other gentlemen like Tyron Wheatley, who's at Morgan State, and you're bringing on these NFL players who can now who are now saying, hey, let's take advantage of this opportunity. Let's become coaches. At schools, because if they went the quote unquote normal route, they would have been biding their time somewhere trying to get in at a gig at another school when they could pick up a school like this. Um, for example, Peerless Price, he's now volunteering his time as an assistant coach at Tennessee State, helping out Eddie George. So that's you have NFL type talent that can coach and be examples for kids that can then say, hey, you know what? I'll go play here because Deion Sanders is here, or I'll go play at Tennessee State because Eddie George is there, and so on and so forth. We may get an Ed Reed one day, and there'll be a lot of players that will follow him. So, and now once you get that buzz going, yes, you're right, Zach. Now we need to get into the let's show everybody what the facilities look like here and look like there, and challenge people to donate, get the major players to come in and start bringing in funds.
'Cause
And
that's what I want
oh,
to jump in on. Make sure that we want to make sure, kind of like you were going. Let's not just emphasize sports. We
right,
want to, because outside, like Alabama has a great football team, but outside of the football team, Alabama can talk to you about Alabama, the institution, and how the institution itself, because there's only so many players on the football team. There
exactly.
ain't every student at Alabama ain't on the football team or involved in athletics. All of them other students go to Alabama because of the other things that they have to offer. And look, let's just kind of be real about a lot of this. Athletes make good money and they'll go on and make some, but those regular normal students, those are some of the people that's going out there that's going to become billionaires, that's going to own NFL teams and things like that. And those are the people that you're going to look, because there's a lot more of them than it is of the NFL guys that you can get $1,000 from, $10,000 from to
Mm-hmm.
put back into the institution or what have you. So I understand what you're saying, but we want to make sure, or I'm saying, who not just bringing in these coaches, but bring in athletic directors, bring in presidents that have a
Mm-hmm.
vision for the future of the institution to, as you used to fuss about all the time. Like you see the shirt I got on, Grambling has this same G. Whoever's at Grambling, he should be trying to get that school to be like the University of Georgia, to where it's a name brand like that and money making organization. And it may not get there, but that should be the vision, not just
Well,
as I
yeah,
said to get the program better, but get the institution itself on a equal playing field with the other institutions.
yeah, and again, getting those things in place because like Pepsi, they're on board, but with the swag, and like of course, Dion had a lot of influence with that, but that's a good thing. There's new
Yes,
facilities being built at those schools, and also Tennessee State. Robert Covington, who was undrafted but made it to the NBA, he basically paid for a new practice facility for Tennessee State basketball program. You got Master P there now, and and his son. So you got like money, you got attention, and that's the direction things need to keep going, and it needs to continue. And this will also get other schools to get on board and do this and do similar things. And now we're talking. Now we're getting somewhere, but we got to get that train moving. For example, this weekend, and I will say this too, Zach. I think that the media needs to do their part too. ESPN. I've been watching ESPN on and off the last couple of days. I'm waiting for the constant promotion of the big game this weekend in Miami, where the Dolphins play between Jackson State and FAMU. That's a SWAC conference battle. and they're both supposed to bring 33,000 fans apiece, and that's a huge event. But is it being really pushed if you turn the channels to Fox and you turn to ESPN and you turn to, like, it's not really being pushed, you know, and more things need to be a little more normalized out here, and I think that would help too,
Well,
because football is not just, it's not just Clemson against Georgia or
well,
Alabama against Miami. It's more to college sports than just them.
hey, the NBA ain't promoting the 12th man on the Toronto Raptors roster. They promote LeBron, they promote KD, they promote Steph Curry. So
Yep.
if you want to get promoted, you need to make yourself promotable. And that's on those institutions to make themselves such a brand that you can't help but talk about it. Because
Yeah.
ESPN, ultimately, ESPN just want to make money. Or I should say, all of these organizations, they just want to make money. They gonna promote what people gonna pay attention to. So we can ask them to do more, but you need to make yourself into that highlight entertainment Michael Jackson type star where people want to know about you.
Yep. And that we'll see how that go. By the way, NFL Network this weekend is also going to air Grambling and Tennessee State. By the way, so that's another good move.
I just want to bring up, I laughed or chuckle. I'm glad you think our viewers know who Master P is.
Make you say,
Well, I'm still
I
glad
know.
you think all of our viewers know who that is. Now I know who it is. You know who it. Look, Master P took me through the late '90s, early 2000s. But my guess is not everybody is gonna know who he is.
Yeah. I actually met him too at a basketball tournament in New Orleans some years
Yes,
ago.
I remember that. I have the photo.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, good talk about HBCU, and I'll be following it. We will. We said we're going to do that. We will give our takes on it, and throughout the season, we
We
won't
should have we,
abandon
we
it.
should have had a photo of Master P, and we had some photos of the HBCUs, and producers didn't get that up, but it's okay.
Yeah, we're working on it.
Got it.
All right, cheap plug time, man.
Okay, cheap plug. Give it to him.
The Sports Brothas, and that's THA, Sports with a Z, Brothers with an AS. You can follow us on Instagram and Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Type in 411 Sports World on YouTube, and you'll find all our shows. They're all housed there. And what else are we on, Zach?
Zingo TV.
Yes, sir, Zingo. We'd like to thank Zingo for trusting the Sports Brothers. All right, some more college football preview. Let's talk
You
about.
missed it. You missed a comment from one of the viewers.
Oh yeah, we
I,
going. It's
I believe she was commenting on Master P.
okay. We'll get that out there shortly. But the Heisman Trophy, man, what's your take on the Heisman Trophy race this season?
Well, I'll make it easy. If you want, you can put up the photo of my guy. I think you know who it is. He must have been on Dancing with the Stars. I don't really watch that show, but for her to say he's the worst dancer, because I don't think he ever danced in his videos, and he must have been on Dancing with the Stars or something. And Lazy, I'm going to let you know, Master P or Percy Miller is not the world's worst dancer. At worst, he is the world's second worst dancer, because Mr. 411 will agree I'm probably the world's worst dancer.
I can attest to that. You're definitely the worst dancer I've ever seen before.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And that is the Heisman Trophy. I'm going with I'm going to go with Spencer Rattler out of Oklahoma. Thank you. And not because I necessarily have faith in Spencer Rattler. I have faith in Lincoln Riley. And what I will say, if we go back prior to last year, which was a Corona year, Lincoln Riley had a second place finish, which I believe was Jalen Hurts. Then he had a first place finish, which was our guy that's in Arizona, Kyler Murray. Another first
Yeah.
place finish with Baker Mayfield in Cleveland, and then a third place finish, which was Baker Mayfield. Lincoln Riley, for all the things that he may not have done as the Oklahoma head coach, what he has done is he has a really great offensive system at Oklahoma that is built for quarterbacks to get numbers. His quarterback, Spencer Rattler, is going to put up numbers this year. The team is a little more complete. At least that's what I keep hearing. And supposedly we'll get to see. Maybe they missed that snake bitten loss this year, or one or two that they get. And because he's going to put up some great numbers, which I won't be surprised if you get 4,000 yards, 40 touchdowns easy, if not 50 touchdowns. And it will depend on how much Lincoln Riley is pushing for him to win the Heisman versus pushing to make sure his team can win the national championship. So that would be my guy that I expect to win the Heisman this year. What say you?
Well, and I'll let you put the photo of my selection up there, please.
Okay. You
His
want me to
name
do
is
it?
DJ. Yeah,
There we go.
DJ Ui Anangle. And I know I butchered his name. But hey,
But it's okay.
I gave it the old try. But
it is okay.
But I'm gonna go ahead and shorten that up and just say DJ. And of course he has huge shoes to fill. But we was able to take a look at him a little bit last season when Trevor Lawrence couldn't play in the game against Notre Dame, and I mean he threw for over 300 there. So and he's a big guy, big strong guy, and I think that yeah, and he's on the team, the organization that he's on the roll as far as having stacked rosters. He's just the next one in line, and big strong kid. I think he's going to throw for a lot of yards. And the thing I'm going to say about this too is if you take into account that the ACC is it's considered a Power Five conference.
It is fair to say.
Okay, so it's a Power Five conference. I know a lot of people like to say that hey, not the best of the best are in there right now when we're talking about college football, but Clemson has proven to be an elite program.
They have two national championships. What, last 4 years or 5 years? They are an elite program.
Right. So elite program, Power Five team, probably got one of the better avenues to come out and get into the tournament, and then also win it. So I think that so he's going to put up some huge numbers. Good solid Power Five conference, but having a good schedule to go along with that, but also sprinkle in some good matchups as well. So of course, winning really matters here. So if you put the stats and they can get the wins, I think that's going to be my candidate right there to bring home the Heisman.
Not a bad pick. For personal reasons, I may tell you that candidacy is going to get derailed this week, but because they are the dominant team in their conference, I am certain that it will get back up after this week. But this week, I'm not so sure he's going to be that Heisman candidate you're talking about. And if he is, then one of us on Tuesday is going to be very unhappy.
Well, I definitely can attest to that. I know that one of us won't be happy after this week. But I mean, again, if they pull off that kind of victory, that's a Heisman resume builder right there, right off the bat, and there'll be nowhere to go but up from there. And then if you start comparing against other candidates, it's like, oh, wait a minute, look at that huge victory in week one. So I think that of course I'm projecting and trying to use the crystal ball here, not this one, but using the crystal ball and just kind of projecting where I think he'll end up. So if he can get through those landmines, especially week one coming up this Saturday against UGA. Who knows? He could be your Heisman winner at the end.
Most definitely. Look, he is in the conversation
Yes,
as
sir.
much as anybody.
All right. Great questions, Zach. All right. So now let's go ahead and oh, you're welcome, Zach. So let's get into the tournament and let's start talking about the top six teams here.
Love how you're a basketball guy. College football playoff,
Yes,
we
sir.
got it.
Yeah. So let's talk about these six teams, man.
Let me help you out before we get too far in it, just so people can get a idea what we have going on. So this is the postseason that we have, which we're trying to make it to the big game, national championship. With that said, as you're talking about Mr. 411, oh, and you did, I guess we'll go with my teams. The regular season is going to end, and after all of the championship games and everything, and you see on the screen Georgia, Oklahoma, Clemson, Ohio State, Texas A&M, and Alabama. And you're laughing. That's fine. Now, I'm going to make this real simple as far as by Alabama. Everybody's going to see that and go, oh my God, how does Alabama not finish in his top four? Because my guess is Texas A&M is going to beat Alabama when Alabama comes to Texas A&M, and Texas A&M will be playing in the SEC championship. I also won't be surprised if Alabama loses 2 games this year. And not because Alabama isn't great or anything like that. It is hard to maintain the level of success that Coach Saban has maintained. Like, I don't think people understand that. They think it just happened. Like, he is on an unprecedented run in college football history at Alabama, if you look at it. So if he loses 2 games, that's not even that terrible of a season for him. The main reason I'm going to pick Alabama is 6. I have Alabama winning the 22 national championship. You don't win 3 championships in a row in this modern era. So if they win it this year, they win it next year. Or they win it this year, they are winning it next year. That's 3 in a row. That just doesn't go along with my reasoning or what I have seen in this modern era. So somehow, some way, Alabama stubs their toe. I'm gonna give Texas A&M the nod, though it's hard because it was saying Jimbo Fisher is going to beat him, and Saban hasn't lost to any of his former assistants yet. But that's my top 6 right there. What say you?
All right. Well, I will. I mean, we're pretty close with as far as the teams, right?
Okay.
We're about spot on with most of those teams.
It's not my number 1.
Right. Well, I mean, I just said teams. You know what I'm saying? Just as far as the teams go, we're pretty much, we're pretty much there. Um, I'm going to, and this is going to sound kind of weird here, but let's put it this way. I'll just give you my order, and we'll go 6-1. Uh, University of North Carolina at 6.
That's not bad.
University of Georgia at 5.
Oh, shit.
Ohio State University at 4. Oklahoma at 3. Clemson at 2, and Alabama at number 1. I think that those are my 6. It's just hard for me to come off of the Alabama one. They have the best odds, according to Vegas. And I just told you about who I thought the Heisman winner is going to be. I'm not going to tear up DJ's last name again, but if that falls into place, that means they're going to be in the championship game. So I have them at 2. Oklahoma, you have their quarterback, winning the Heisman. That means they need to win a lot of ball games. So have them at 3.
He has to put up.
He can put up numbers. But they got to win enough games. I think they can win the Big 12.
Go probably 11-1. They lose more than 1 game, I would be shocked.
Yeah,
they have a weak schedule.
Yeah, so I think that's going to keep them in the top six as well. Ohio State. I mean, I don't see anybody taking them out of the Big Ten conference. And then Georgia. Like the only reason I have Georgia 5 is because either Bama or Georgia is going to win the SEC, in my opinion. And if Bama wins it, then Georgia, you know, due to being in the same league, if you will, SEC, and these other teams having maybe one loss or winning their respective leagues, I think Georgia still makes the tournament. I just think they'll be in at 5, and then I think the surprise will be the North
You
Carolina
know,
Tar Heels.
only four of them get in, right?
Well, yeah,
Only
but I'm just saying we talking about top six, so
yes.
yeah, so I'm just saying like that would be an eliminator to me. So, and then of course with the UNC, I think they're going to
That's a
be
good.
a
I'll be
surprise
interested
team.
in how they're doing because they have expectations now. Same as A&M. Like
Exactly.
it's totally different when you're hunting and now you the hunted.
Yeah,
They
and
most of those teams are gonna have expectations. Will
yes,
they be able
sir.
to handle those expectations? Alabama has proven that they can year in, year out. And I would say for the most part, Ohio State, even though their conference is kind of down, but they proved to be cream of your crop. And a lot of these, as you were saying, Power Five conferences, to a
Mm-hmm.
degree, this is kind of like being in the NFL. And you said it a couple weeks ago. The easiest path to making the playoffs in the NFL is to win your division. So
That's
with
right.
most teams, if you win your conference, especially since it's only 4 slots right now, that's the best path to get there.
Yeah, and I think the defense for Carolina is what's going to be the difference maker there. So I think that they can be a team that can pull off a lot of victories.
I,
And
I'll be interested to see.
yep. So that's my 6, man.
Okay. And now we're getting down to the drum roll, and I'll let you
Yes,
go first.
sir. All right. Let's get that question out there then. You got it, producer?
Yes, sir.
So now we're down to the nitty gritty. Who wins the national championship and why?
And I think you gave us your 4 team. Well, actually, I think both of us. Pretty much you see who's got who into
Yes, sir.
the final or college football playoff. So give us yours. I'm pretty sure everybody knows who mine is, but I at least have logical reasons. So go ahead.
Well, Alabama. I have Alabama winning it.
Oh my
Uh,
God.
I have them winning the national championship again.
This is what
Uh,
happens when people don't have a team in college football.
Great quarterback play coming in. Nick Saban again recruiting well again. I think that you know whatever you thought of Mac Jones the previous year, I think this quarterback is going to do well too. So I have Alabama doing it again, man. This is college sports. It's not the NFL draft, and you have to, you can have to build and all that kind of stuff. It's like, you get the best players coming in, you keep them rolling, and I think Alabama will do that. I think they're going to pull it out.
Well, that is great. That's easy. Oops. There goes mine. Because teams, it's hard to win back to back. They have a new starter quarterback. Honestly, I didn't think last year's Alabama team was one of their better teams, and they dominate. And that's in part, Coach Saban is just great. They have a lot of great coaches, but I'm not sure the talent is as great as people are making it out to be this year. I think there's a drop. In fact, I think there's a significant drop off at receiver. I think there is a significant drop off at running back. Excuse me. And I didn't think so, but Coach Belichick, based on his actions, is telling me there's a significant drop off at quarterback because the quarterback for Alabama is about to be starting in the NFL. The quarterback that the former quarterback at Alabama is about to be starting in the NFL, and actually two of them are. I'm not sure the quarterback that's at Alabama now could start on an NFL team because we ain't seen him do anything yet. With that said, I have Georgia over Ohio State. I have Oklahoma over Clemson, and Georgia beats Oklahoma for the national championship. Now, I'm saying this and I'm covering my eyes because Kirby Smart, as they would say, old term, and kids cover your ears, he could screw up a wet dream. But I am going to have faith that the talent is so good at Georgia that it's just going to be hard to mess this up. And the in-game decisions that he's going to have to make are going to be few and far in between. And I already told you that A&M beats Alabama, so he doesn't have to worry about playing Coach Saban. And I think they go out and beat Clemson by 10 points this week. I feel like the roster is that talented, or they're as talented as any team in the nation. And if you don't believe me, go look at the past recruiting rankings. So it's on Kirby to get this to go through. And, of course, we got our boy Dale McGee there coaching the running back. So good luck, Dale. I'm cheering for you. I still don't like Kirby. But, Kirby, if you win the national championship this year, I will have to like you a little bit better. Just keep in mind, what's his name that was at Alabama, at Auburn and won the national championship with Cam Newton? Gene Chizik. Just because you win a national championship, Kirby, don't necessarily mean you're a great coach. It could just mean you have great talent. But I hope come mid-January, I can have this debate about Kirby that he won a national championship. Is he a great coach? Now, I'm sure Mr. Fort World War will probably tell me I ain't going to have to worry about that. And if they go out there and lose to Clemson by 30, I'll be singing a different tune when I'm back here on Tuesday. And I'll probably be the one to put up the Fire Kirby website again. But right now, I'm trying to look objectively and not look at the actual name that's on the thing. Saban lost a lot of his talent. Clemson has lost a lot of their talent. Ohio State lost a lot of their talent. To me, Oklahoma is the only real competition right now. Georgia's quarterback has more starts than these other quarterbacks, and he's supposed to be a 5-star. So he should make players better. So I'm not just trying to be a homer here, but I'm actually evaluating the team because I have been very down on Kirby Smart, as people that know me will tell you. But this is the year Kirby should win the national championship. So I'm telling you, who should. Should, not will, should.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So that's all I got.
And I think we heard this song before, and it is the beginning of the season.
Okay,
and this is the time to be. It is the time to be optimistic. So that's the beauty of sports, right? The year calendar rolls back around, and
well, it's easy.
We bring back that optimism.
If Georgia beats Clemson this week, they're in the college football playoff because they're if you look at the next 11 games on their schedule, they're better. Yeah. Like they just are. And I'm not trying to be funny. It's going to be like they're playing Vanderbilt almost every week. That's how much talent they have on their roster versus the other teams. And Georgia fans, do not let Kirby Smart off the hook. Like the team is going 11-1 no matter what. So it's going to be bookend. Do you win your first game against Clemson? And if we go off of what you said, which I think it ends in the Southeastern Conference Championship, do they win their last game against, you're saying, Alabama? So the first game of the season and the last game of the regular season dictate everything. If you lose that first game and lose that last game, it's a disappointing season. Like, it's a failure of a season because you have 11 games you should win and 2 games that are maybe toss-ups. And I don't want to hear that BS about Kirby at the end of the year that he's doing a good job and all of this. He needs to go 50-50, beat Clemson or win the SEC championship. I don't care which one, because either one gets you into the college football playoff. But I'd rather you start off with a win so I can feel good, since I have time off this weekend. And that's the fan in me for Georgia, and we good now. We can move on with the show.
Are you done?
Look, I'm done. And come Saturday night, let's see, the game is at 7:30. I might be finished around 11 o'clock. So hopefully I won't be.
Uh-oh. Don't forget now, Alabama did move on from Tua, who plays in the NFL, and they moved on with Matt Jones. So they can replenish.
this is wishful thinking. Georgia's due. It's been like 41 years. At some like LSU beat Alabama a couple years ago for a national championship. Clemson beat Alabama for a national championship. Alabama doesn't just win like 10 straight championships like UCLA or something. It's on the Kirby to get it done. What I think we were talking about that, like with the institutions. Georgia, if they want to be respected and be seen by people like you as an organization that is at the highest level, you have to go out there and win. Ohio State beat Alabama. So Alabama has lost to 3 teams as they've been going along winning these championships.
Yes, sir.
Take a shot. Don't be afraid of getting your name in the papers. They used to tell me as I would drop those interceptions. Get your name in the paper. Catch it.
There you go. Yep. All right. Well, we're in the 4-minute offense now.
Oh, that's good. That means we had a good show.